This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
On a beautiful October morning, more temperature appropriate. Land of a Thousand Dances, thanks to one of the great films in the history of cinema, The Great Outdoors. I encourage you, if you're one of the few people that haven't watched it, watch it. You'll appreciate the best of Aykroyd and Candy. Comma John, rest in peace. But Nordo in for PA, 651 Carpet Studios, and heavy on talkbacks and texts throughout the first hour today. Vikings into bye week. So 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line. And then also, any of you listening via the free iHeartRadio app, I'm sure many of you are, and you have the fan as one of your presets on the app. But you hit that microphone, you give us up to your best 30 seconds, and we will play them en masse. And part of that, I want to do that today, because we didn't do a ton of that yesterday. We asked for the talkbacks, we asked for the texts, and maybe sometimes we go on long winding tangents, and maybe we don't get to as many talkbacks as we should. As we want to hear from you. But to that end, Brett Blakemore is producing this morning. A little bit of potpourri on a 9 to noon Tuesday as the Vikings are into the bye. It'll shock most of you Vikings fans. Apparently, there are other sports and other events taking place, including the Minnesota Wild opening their season Thursday night in St. Louis. Welcome back to the Minnesota Wild as they embark on their own journey, the 2025-26 campaign, Thursday night in St. Louis. I've actually tasked Brett Blakemore to assemble some nuggets, some morsels, if possible, that excite him and maybe some things that should excite us into the season. I must ask you and derail my own opening segment here. Connor McDavid signs the 2-year deal yesterday, $12.5 per. There was a little bit of murmur or shock, maybe, or surprise associated with that, considering, especially here in St. Paul, the idea that, was Kirill going to set the market for Connor? Was there a waiting game to see who was going to get that massive dollar amount first? But in the end, it sounds like Connor's going 2 years maybe on the cheap, certainly by his standards. So win a cup sometime in the next 2 years. And then the Brinks truck is going to be backed up for Mr. McDavid. Is that, am I gathering that correctly, Brett?
So that's essentially what it is. It's a 2-year, win it now or we move on, basically. Okay. And him and Kaprizov are about the same age. So this will be the comparison between the two deals will really not be able to have the full picture of it for, 3 or 4 years probably before we decide who. Because there was talk of Kaprizov maybe wanting to do the same thing, at least from media. No one within his camp suggested that at all, that maybe you do a shorter term, try to win now, and then kick the can down the road. Certainly that's what McDavid's doing is let's give it 2 more years and let's run it and see what happens. But then someone's going to have to pay him a lot the next 2 years.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
But there's no can kicking here in St. Paul. We figured it out. 8 years, $136. Kirill is ours for the next total of 9 years, I believe. So looking forward to that from Brett. Also, potpourri style on a Tuesday. Lavelli Neal III, of course, of Star Tribune fame. He's going to be in studio at 11. And I keep getting these questions, and I'll admit, I've kind of, from a baseball standpoint, it is until ownership changes with our favorite team. I mean, I'm watching, the Brewers and the run that they're potentially on. And the Dodgers, as of now, I mean, they're beating the Phillies, and the Dodgers are the Dodgers. I get it. But they appear to be on a collision course in the NLCS. Phillies and Cubs fans sweating hard. Rob Manfred sweating the idea of a Mariners, Blue Jays, ALCS. Although the Tigers are game, I think it's 1-1 in the series. Yankees being outclassed through by the Birds through 2. But I'm watching these games, and I love it, and I'm excited to kind of dig into some of this playoff baseball with Lavelle, but with our team, until there's change at the top, the managerial search and some of those things, it hasn't really hit the radar of 9 to noon, at least at a high level. But I'm hoping Lavelle comes in with some intel today in terms of what's next in replacing Rocco Baldelli. But again, that'll be part of the Tuesday potpourri conversation. And as I mentioned, talkbacks today. Welcome. We love them. Vikings into the bye. Biggest opinion through 5 with this team. Favorite thing, least favorite thing. What's good, what's bad with the purple. JJ or Carson has really been in vogue. And, if both are fully healthy, who are you rolling with? I'll accept them. Happy to listen to them. And maybe the player you're seeking or looking to see most in terms of being healthy and playing out of the bye. So free iHeartRadio app, hit us with some talkbacks. Happy to hear them. But about last night, I want to start here. The Jaguars, the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that at times you're watching 4 touchdowns in the second half in a wild card game to beat Brandon Staley's Los Angeles Chargers. You're watching a team that next week that would be game against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. You're also watching a team that starts 9-3, loses like the final 5, finds their way out of the playoffs. There's a coaching change, and Mr. Cohen, Duval, just the awkwardness of that whole thing. And then you're watching them last night rise to the occasion to best Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs in primetime.
First and goal at the Kansas City 1. Under center is Lawrence. The snap. Oh, he fell down as he pulled away. Hits the deck. Gets back up. Breaks a tackle. 5. Running in. Touchdown. Touchdown. Jacksonville touchdown. Flag has been thrown.
Holding. Defense number 6. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is a touchdown.
Trevor Lawrence, a touchdown run. And a 2-point Jacksonville lead. With the extra point coming up. But 23 seconds on the clock. And the Chiefs have 3 timeouts.
I told you, Kevin, strange things happen when there's a harvest supermoon.
That courtesy of Westwood One, Mr. Harlan Kevin Harlan on the call for moments like that probably doesn't get better. Brett, as a diseased Packers fan,
Yes.
do you actually, because your squad's on a bye after the tie, a tie into a bye? What a feeling!
My.
What a feeling it must be. Do you actually watch other teams, or
I do.
Do you just shut it down?
I actually, if I was by myself, but I have friends that are Vikings fans.
All by
and
myself?
Yeah. No, I watched the game last night.
You did?
I did.
Sweet. So into the preseason, and I wouldn't expect you to remember this, but in the preseason, we do what we call throwaway bits, where PA and I will text into a show, hey, we got this open spot at 9:35 or 9:47. You and I have text when I fill in, and it's just kind of putting pieces together.
Yeah, you let them know what you're doing.
And our show, we try at times to be thematic, but in a lot of cases, the guest heavy nature, it kind of, Gessling is going to be Vikings Central at 10 today. Ben Gessling, Star Tribune, he's going to be in studio at 10. Lavelle, as I mentioned, at 11. So then you get your guests in the mix, and then you fill spots. And in a lot of cases, as I was mentioning with the talkbacks, you ask for talkbacks, you play 2 out of the 75 or 100 you get, and then you go on long winding tangents. Not dissimilar from the tangent I'm going on right now. But as part of that, throwaway bits. So I did this bit in the preseason. I think I just said, if not now, when? And it's into the regular season. J.J. McCarthy's still healthy. We're pumped for his debut here. But if not now, when? The idea of certain quarterbacks, from my standpoint, who had to step up into the 2025. Like, they care what my opinion is. But I look at them like, it's time. If it's not going to happen in 2025, when's it going to happen? So Kyler Murray, and at this stage of his career, getting paid a healthy amount, Jonathan Gannon's trying to build this defense around him. We've seen now through 5 games some injuries at the running back spot. One of the more comical ways in the history of the NFL, and certainly in the franchise history of the Cardinals, to lose a game to the freaking Titans, embarrassing as that was. We saw that now, but Kyler Murray, a guy, if not now, when? Then Tua till you're satisfied. Nobody's satisfied in South Beach. And the head coach looks like he hasn't slept since the beginning of the season. he's a mess, and the team is becoming a mess as well. Tyreek Hill's legs pointing the wrong way. Defense is struggling. We've watched Tua. If not now for Tua, when? And then I threw Justin Fields in there. That's just weird. I don't know. I think I did it because it was a throwaway segment and I had to fill 12 minutes. And I had to bank maybe enough content until my guy got bored and just started looking at his phone or reading X while I just tried to talk with him. Yeah. So I think that's why I threw Justin Fields in the mix. And then Trevor Lawrence. And so kind of if not now, when? And for now, it seems like at least one of the four happens to be running with it. After you watch Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars pull one out, they improved to 4-1. How about that division, by the way? AFC South, super maligned. Houston Texans trying to find their way. I think they're 2-3. But both the Colts with Danny Dimes, who's become $1, and they're running it with Jonathan Taylor, a bounce back after I think it was the Rams loss. They just absolutely smoked the Raiders over the weekend. They're 4-1, and so are the Jags. But Kyler, again, embarrassing way to lose that game. And in some ways, you're watching some of that. It's not Kyler's fault that DeMercado drops the ball on the brink of the doorstep of the goal line. It's not his fault that there was a pick, followed by a fumble as he's rolling on the ground, followed by a kick, followed by a recovery in the end zone. It's not Kyler's fault. But overall, not maybe taking advantage of what's in front of him. Still trying to figure out how to get Harrison Jr. involved. And Trey McBride, as good as he is, the weapon situation with Kyler leaves some to be desired. Tua, it's not working down there. And that's looking whether it's the coach's tenure, maybe short-lived, but that whole situation in there is a problem. And then Fields again. I think I added him just to kill some time.
Yeah, there's a guy same age bracket. Sure.
But in fairness, in fairness, kind of rises from the depth. Justin Fields a year ago with Pittsburgh, still kind of it's not head scratching, but the decision they made, they were always going to move to Russell Wilson. I think the team was either 3-2 or 4-1 in their first 5 games, and Justin Fields didn't have any turnovers. Not lighting it up necessarily on a game-by-game basis through the air, but the running ability is real. And this opportunity maybe after they move to Russ, that puts Fields very disenfranchised, and he moves on with this Jets. There's a new coach. There's new life. There's always fun aspects of something being new. And I mean, the team's 0-5. The team, you get Aaron Glenn to the Jets because of his defensive prowess in Detroit. And the team has no turnovers. Everyone's scoring on them at will. And it's not going well for Mr. Glenn and the Jets. Franchise curse continues.
I swear there's something about the uniforms because Fields looked like a 500 quarterback playing for the Steelers, which
must be what it is.
Perennial 500 team. And then they're 0-5 with the Jets right now because they are the Jets.
I actually think you solved it. So even no more conversation even is required on Justin Fields. We figured it out. It's the uniform. The throws that Trevor Lawrence made last night when he had to have it were unbelievable. And that throw specifically near side boundary to Brian Thomas Jr. moving left to right on that final drive, that's as good as it gets. Any QB makes that throws. We're all oohing and eyeing. I think he finds Diami Brown on a 3rd down. And then the touchdown play, you heard the audio. I'm sure you've seen the highlight. It looks like he gets stepped on, falls, tries to get up, falls again. Ezra Cleveland, by the way, former Viking, I think he cleared the way for that touchdown there. Look at the highlight again. Try to find Ezra if you can. But seizing the moment. And speaking of new head coach and Liam Cohen. New across the board. Grant Uditsky's down there. Johnny Munt, I believe, is down there. And there's so much new. And they're seizing the opportunity. The Jags can run the hell out of the ball right now with a healthy Etienne. Defense turns the ball over. And Trevor has some of that Friday Night Lights moxie. Now, he also has no idea where the line of scrimmage is. I know it happened at least once last night, and it happened a week or two ago. Trevor Lawrence scrambling, And he's not just, it's not just, well, we need to look at the tape and replay it to see if his back foot is still behind the line of scrimmage. He's 3 yards down the field and chucking it. No clue of where he is on the field in some of those moments. And he makes bad decisions. The O-line's good times, bad times. But kind of if not now, when for Trevor Lawrence might be happening right now before our eyes. And so this is, again, what gets me back to my favorite team. It wasn't about, being right in terms of if not now, when. Just it's cool to see the Jags topple the Chiefs. I don't look at the Chiefs as an evil empire like some may. I know many would look at the Brady Belichick Patriots that way. But if not now, when, the opportunity in prime time to best the Chiefs, always high class, and the Jags pulled through. But it has me excited again about seeing J.J. McCarthy back on the field. And the thing about J.J. is kind of that breath, that what can happen. And it's not, we got time with J.J., I suppose. He's got the injury now. We got to wait for that thing to heal up. We've heard the coach talk very non-definitively in terms of what that process looks like, other than I need him healthy. I need him on the field. I need him through full practice weeks. I need that rhythm back. We've heard that, and not much else. And meanwhile, Carson Wentz, 9-9 on a final scoring drive, and you find your way to a victory against Stefanski's Browns. So that's cool. But it's got me excited again about seeing J.J. McCarthy on the field. And it didn't come up yesterday, so much recap and everything, but Drake May, Sunday night, what he did in Buffalo. Another moment, another performance that has me excited to know if we have something in J.J. McCarthy. How spectacular was Drake May in Buffalo? And it's not about comparisons, and I'm pretty sure the Vikings offered just about everything short of the freaking moon to move up and get Drake May. Patriots were standing pat. The Pat stood pat. But the Tar Heels turning heads in year two. The ups and downs, idiotic decision-making a year ago. You get the flashes of arm talent, but then the mind-boggling mistakes that put the team in awful positions, and they lost a lot of games. Drake May got a lot of those opportunities in his first season. Opportunities that J.J. McCarthy, due to injury, did not get. And year two, how about the coaching staff? Vrabel. The Vrabel aura in itself makes a difference. Has to be an upgrade on its own. But Josh McDaniels, he's tried head coaching. He's failed at head coaching. But we clearly know where his comfort zone is. And that's being the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. Little talent around him, Stephon Diggs. Heard Diggs, by the way, Sunday night, going back in time. I forget who he was talking to on the sideline before the game, but he was talking about his leadership and just the growth process for Stephon Diggs. I don't know if any of you heard that. I mean, it immediately feels like there's an expiration date on that, right? Early season, he's in Buffalo to play his former team. Showed out, by the way. Loving that stat line, I'm sure, from a fantasy and reality perspective, if you're digging the Patriots. But definitely an expiration date on that. But for now, Diggsy's happy, and the attitude is good, and he was at his best for Drake May. But whether it's Trevor Lawrence last night, it's Drake May 2 nights ago, these performances have me so excited to see J.J. McCarthy back on the field for the Vikings. And the learning moment here is, and I'll play some audio, maybe some Vikes bites here, there at some point, and we'll talk more about it with Gessling. But JJ's only going to grow if he's on the field. And you hear about him learning on the sideline and just getting to pick the brain of a Carson Wentz. He's learning through observation. That's cool. And Carson's a warrior, by the way. Carson's playing well with the circumstances around him. But we need to know what McCarthy has. So whenever he's playing, again, that non-definitive, he's practicing fully, gets that rhythm back with Darisaw, with Donovan Jackson returning, with Jordan Addison, with a healthier defense. Let's roll. And that's watching Drake May, seeing Lawrence last night. That has me reinvigorated to see J.J. McCarthy. And for me, it's now, I'm turning the page on who's healthy and who even gives the team the better chance to win right now. I don't think any of us outside of, in some ways, our own biases. You want the confirmation bias. If you are a massive J.J. McCarthy fan, you're going to be, come in. You're going to lean that way because you believe that he hasn't gotten the shot to play with a healthy O-line. If you're a Carson Wentz fan, kid didn't have it in the first 2 games. We moved on to Carson. Cool story. Bismarck's finest. Went to the Metrodome to see his favorite team play as a kid. Your confirmation bias, you'll be constantly looking for morsels to dig into to support Carson's campaign. But in the end, it's not for me. It's I need to see what the kid has because of the investment. And so that's where it sits for me. And that's why earlier in the segment, I was kind of talking, where's your head at? And that's for 64686. That's for Talkbacks with the free iHeartRadio app. Those performances this weekend of football has completely reinvigorated me to just needing to see number 9 on the field, see what we have as I watch a couple other teams around the league finding their way as they've gotten some awakening moments from their quarterbacks. And I'm hoping that's what McCarthy has. And if he doesn't have it, now we know. And we can move forward accordingly. TimberTech set list, as I said, Lavelli Neal III from the Star Tribune. He's going to be in studio at 11. We'll jump on the Vikings, Bears out of the bye. We'll converse about that, state of the North, if you will, and some NFL talkers, but also Minnesota Twins, the managerial search. I know Lavelle's been poking and prodding on that. Baseball playoffs in the mix. So fun final hour with Lavelle. Heavy on the purple at 10 a.m. with Ben Gessling of the Star Tribune as well. It's kind of a Strib Tuesday. A couple of guys from the Strib hanging out. Love that. Ben Gessling will be in studio at 10 o'clock. Standard Heating and Air, your weekly sponsor for Mr. Gessling. And then whether it's talkbacks, it's texts, some nuggets on the Wild. First hour is going to be, whether it's the Wild, it's going to be Vikings Nugs. We're going to continue this conversation with Brett Blakemore producing. I'm Nordo in for PA on a Tuesday. And you know what? Let's do this. Let's give someone the chance to win $1,000 via the cash contest.
I love it. The Fan and 2 Minute in a Junk Truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword this hour is dollar. Keyword dollar. KFAN.com. Keyword dollar. Remember that one teacher who made a difference, believed in us, challenged us, or just made learning fun? Well, now's a chance to say thank you in a big way with iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher, powered by Donors Choose. Nominate an outstanding public school teacher who's gone above and beyond for their students to win $5,000 to stock their classroom with whatever they need. Help us say thank you to the educators shaping our future. Nominate your favorite teacher now. iHeartRadio.com/teachers. iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
Nordo, this is Greg down on the farm in New Ulm. KOC was asked after the game on Sunday if he'd come up with a game plan that was different than really anything he's ever done before. And all he said was, I needed a plan to actually win the game. Do you take that to mean that he finally acknowledged a need for some quick passing game with the, makeshift offensive line? If so, I'm just really excited that that's the case, that he finally acknowledged it.
Hey, thanks for the talk back. Before we skate on over to the NHL, and props to New Ulm, by the way, from, I believe we got Herman the German, we got Shell's Brewery, home of Bachfest. I don't know if they still play Down, Down, Down in the Burning Ring of Fire. There used to be a band at Bachfest in New Ulm where they would just play that song on repeat for 6 hours while you walked around looking for sheep's heads in the woods while drinking delicious Shell's Bach beer. I wonder if they still do that. Greg, I think what I kind of gathered from the game, and this is, again, shooting from the hip, shooting from the lip, is I think this was one of the tougher coaching performances of Kevin O'Connell's time here in Minnesota because of the O-line, because of what he wasn't able to do with the pieces that he had to play with. And so I don't know if it was a final acknowledgement. Is any coach potentially stubborn in their philosophy? Certainly. But what I felt is a coach that, I mean, it sounds odd to say it. In some ways, he needed to come home just like the team needed to. where that was an absolute grind to get past Stefanski and the Browns. And yes, in some ways altering and that game plan in a vacuum for one game to get by Cleveland was probably infinitely more difficult than he ever wished or thought that it could be when the schedule comes out and he thinks he's going to work with an O-line that he doesn't have. He thinks he's got a running back he doesn't have. He's got a wide receiver who misses 3 games because of a suspension, and he's in a captive environment in a countryside manor, and he misses a walkthrough. How does that happen? But all the things that went into it, yes, I think there's an acknowledgement on his end that to win games, they're going to have to do it a bit differently than maybe initially that he would have considered. So thanks for the talk, and I got a bunch more to play here, but I did tell Brett, I want to know what's up with my favorite hockey team as they enter the 2025 season. So we are indeed going to skate over to the NHL for a couple of nuggets on the hockey team. What's going on with the Wild?
Opening night, not too far away, Thursday night, St. Louis Blues in St. Louis. The line combinations look like they're cemented. And that's my favorite thing to do when we talk about the Wild is rip the line combinations, and why aren't we doing this? Marco Rossi centers the top line between Kaprizov and Boldy.
Okay.
We love that because Zuccarello's out. So that's a pretty strong top line.
Yeah.
Second line, Eriksson Ek. Love that. Centering Tarasenko and Foligno.
Ooh.
You have to look down the sheet to find Young Guns, Yurov, and Ogren. They are on the fourth line. Shock horror with Nico Sturm, who we do love. Here's John.
So would you say that second line, Tarasenko, Jules Eriksson Ek, and Foligno, that's our speed line?
That's the offensive powerhouse line is what that is. Here's John Hines talking about why Foligno's on the second line.
He's had a good camp. I know there's been some chemistry with Eki. I think those two guys can get in on the puck as well and see what that combination would look like. So it's just we're still trying to figure out a little bit who's in that spot if we were to keep the lines together, which we probably will for the foreseeable future to see how it goes. So. I think we looked at Ogren and Yurov there. Johansson can play there. So take a look at Moose now.
Now, before we get to opinion, he was asked again, what about Yurov? What about Ogren? Because this seems like a picture-perfect opportunity with Zuccarello being out. There's a spot open for one of those guys to get a look there, and they're not going to get it in the regular season.
Well, we knew coming into the year that was going to be a little bit of an audition spot. And, we feel like we did give guys, good opportunities and long looks there and different looks. And, I think that taking a look at Foligno there now, he adds a different element than those other guys do, but it still looks like a line that could be very difficult to play against.
Now,
you're shaking your head, Brett.
I'm here to tell you, a couple preseason games is not a long audition.
Okay.
It's just not. And we've seen Foligno's a good player. This is not a Foligno hate piece at all. I love him on the third line. I love him on the fourth line. I love the energy he brings. He scored a great shorthanded goal on a break in the preseason. It was awesome.
You love him specifically on the bottom six.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that, and it's not even because Yurov and Ogren are on the same line, so they could generate something, but they're on the fourth line. They're going to get a handful of minutes, and that's going to be it.
So are you discouraged by the idea that either you didn't have a couple of young guns take that opportunity, or are you saying that we didn't get enough sample size? We don't know.
It definitely the latter. They didn't get enough sample size at all. And this, this coaching staff and this
cancel
team.
The season then.
Well, I'm not saying that. Jeez. I'm just saying I've been harping on this for years. I feel like this coaching staff doesn't like giving these young guns and young players enough of a chance. It's like they see one bad shift from them and just kick them to the curb in favor of a guy like Johansson, who's above them, who they gave like the vet minimum to. He stunk in the playoffs last year, but that's fine because Yurov didn't score a goal in the preseason. Therefore, he's kicked to the fourth line. I just don't understand it.
Well,
your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is that I was kind of framing it up like you were going to hit us with some stuff to be excited about.
Well, this is how I've talked about the Wild.
I'm kind of pumped about our speed line, line two with Tarasenko and Moose. I think it's going to be awesome.
Nothing says speed more than Marcus Foligno and Vladimir Tarasenko. I've said that for years.
But with Eriksson Ek and Foligno, you have maybe your strongest line there, right? Would that be an
literally strongest?
Would that be an abnormally tough second line?
Yeah, but that's not what you're looking for with your second line. You're looking for some goal scoring.
I'm trying to look at the positives here.
Well, I'll give you some positives. I've got plenty of them.
Hit me with some positives, please.
How about a contract extension for Gustafson, the Gus Bus?
Yeah, that's sweet.
He's absolutely solid. It's 5 years. I love it. I don't think it blocks out Wallstedt at all because he's now the backup and they're going to split games. He's going to get time. So that's I don't like when guys are blocked out, and I think this is a perfect way it's term for him, but it's also an opportunity for Wallstedt being the backup.
Do you have optimism for Jesper Wallstedt?
I've been a Wallstedt defender for a long time. Good. I thought the teams down there in Iowa didn't really help him out in front of him. I think he's going to be a really solid piece for this team, and I love Gus Bus as well. I think our goaltending is solid. How about our defensive core, Nordo? Zeev Boyum gets a shot. I was a little concerned.
Zeev!
A little concerned when he got pulled from the playoffs, basically just saying, we'd rather have John Merrill. There he is, second line with Jared Spurgeon. I thought he was good running the power play in the preseason. I love the upside of this kid, and I love young players getting opportunities. Zeev's getting it, so I'm very happy.
And Brodin, we're feeling good about him not missing a ton of time, right? He's in the mix or not in the mix?
I've got him listed as day-to-day, whatever that means.
Okay.
Because we've seen that go either which way. That day-to-day can be longer or shorter, so it's really to me, it's a mystery on that.
I noticed you didn't mention Juracek, so you're still down on him.
I actually was a Juracek defender as well, just because of the price they paid for him, right? It's a first-round pick. They ended up getting the guy back that they traded for anyways, and Damon Hunt. So, he's slotted in on that third line. But again, that's a guy I want to see more of a sample size of to see if he really takes that spot. That's not one that I'm going to die on the hill of like Yurov and Ogren. But I'm excited to see what he does because they paid a price for him. I get first round and draft picks in the NHL are different than the NFL because you don't see him right away, and it's really more of a crapshoot than it is in the NFL. But it's still a high price to pay for someone. It shows that you believe in him, and if he doesn't pan out, that stinks.
Where do you think the Wild sit as of now before any games have been played in terms of the Central Division?
I think there's no reason, with the way that they started last year, and if Kaprizov, which is the world's biggest if Kaprizov and Co stay healthy, there's no reason they can't compete for the division. Simple as that.
They had one of the best records in the NHL until he got hurt.
He was a Hart Trophy odds favorite in Vegas.
He was.
So, really, I wouldn't say the team lives and dies with Kaprizov because they have a little bit more scoring depth than they did last year.
No, they kind of do.
But they kind of do.
They kind of do, as a matter of fact. Well, I appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, Wild opening up in St. Louis, and that's a 7 p.m. pregame. Joe O'Donnell on the call, Tom Reed. And, Joe O'Donnell doesn't need my help, but like a little booyah. I mean, I don't know. You could throw that in there. Or just
we can workshop that.
Or just Zeev.
Yeah.
That's why I don't do play-by-play, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not good at it. That's actually the frame of it. Let's do some Vikings talkbacks here with a bit more time left in the segment. Again, Minnesota Wild opening on Thursday night. I think we are going to have some Russo inclusion, whether it's tomorrow or Thursday. Some hockey-heavy opportunities here as both PA and I will not be in the mix the next few days. So somebody that actually knows puck, you'll get to talk with them, Brett, instead of just staring at me while I'm trying, this guy's on the team. Give me some excitement. Give me something to be excited about.
Oh, I'm sure Fallness is very excited about everything that I disagreed with this segment. I'm sure he's fired up, and I can't wait to talk to him.
To the talkback machine.
Hey, Nordo, Max from Egan here.
Hey.
I know we're 3-2, and it's looking okay at the moment, but honestly, we have not played that well. We could easily be 1-4. Play the murmur, I know. If we didn't play the Browns and the Bears this season and played above average teams in both those games, we didn't play winning football in those games, and we found a way to win, I know, but this team has some work to do, unfortunately. See you later.
Hey, thanks for the talk back, Max. And that's in, and then I also got a text from Greg in Lakeville. I'm just going to kind of mix those two. I agree with you, first of all, Max, that this team hasn't played well. And whether that's injuries, circumstance, all of those things, it all matters in the scope of games that count. So teams 3-2 into the bye, but very easily in some circumstances, save for, the go-ahead drive at London, at Tottenham, or even week 1 against the Bears, you're required after 3 quarters of malaise to engineer 3 scoring drives. The kid QB comes through. He's NFC Player of the Week, and you nip him at the wire at Soldier Field against the Bears. So the team has not played well. Injuries playing a part in that, certainly. But then I get this text from Greg in Lakeville, which I also understand. Hey, Nordo, only problem with your logic regarding McCarthy, the idea, I'm pumped to see that. I'm completely re-emboldened, and I'm finding that place I was in before the Monday night opener where I can't wait for McCarthy to get back on the field. But Greg, his text, the only problem with your logic regarding McCarthy is that we are an older team. We're supposed to win now. Older veterans can't wait around. Too bad Darnold wasn't still here. Oof.
Oh my gosh. Above average at that.
As a quick aside, which we are known to do, Darnold's looked almost better in Seattle thus far than he did in Minnesota last season. Unbelievable resurgence to his career. What he's doing with the Seahawks, the shootout with Baker. I know they were on the wrong side of it against the Bucs this last weekend, but that ain't Darnold's fault. Darnold was awesome and has been really through the first month in a game of the season. And they did find that L to Tampa. But best of luck to Darnold. The plan was to move on to J.J. McCarthy. I keep seeing that the roster is built to win now, that we are supposed to win now. The only reason that we are a veteran-laden team to the degree that we are is because we haven't been effectively drafting for the last half decade, which potentially plays into why some of these injury issues and the O-line with what they did with what this team had, the performances on Sunday across that O-line were very impressive. Joe Huber, not starting guard caliber in the NFL, held up in moments. Again, 1v1, I mentioned yesterday, one of my favorite plays from the game was, sadly, it ended in that field goal, ball may have hit wire fiasco, but the 38-yarder to Justin Jefferson, where Carson didn't get happy feet, he didn't bail out of the pocket, he stood in there strong, and Justin School, 1v1, a guy that at times it felt like a month ago was potentially getting J.J. McCarthy killed on the left side of the O-line. He stood tall, 1v1, won that rep against Myles Garrett, and gave Carson that extra split second he needed to deliver it to Jefferson. So the performances require and have earned the respect and the tip of the cap. But the fact of the matter is, this is an older team because we have not. I mean, Donovan Jackson, I think, is going to be an absolute stud. Excited for him to get back. Again, these health issues, they always pop up in any conversation we have. This is a veteran-laden team because we have been so ineffective at producing draft, domestic, homegrown, organic talent to this team. To the point now where we're even also having that conversation. Can't wait for Van Ginkel to come back because of how important Van Ginkel is. And the reason he's so important to come back is because the kid we drafted a year ago in his second year splashed a couple of bit, made a couple of nice tackles in specifics. One near the boundary on Judkins, I believe, and a good game in a vacuum again from Dallas Turner. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bust. Again, we can need Van Ginkel back, and Dallas Turner can still have a terrific career, but Dallas Turner, as a first-round pick, has not panned out and is not producing at the level that this team needs from him. So the inability to draft has us out with these measured spending sprees. You trade Harrison Phillips, you let Jonathan Bullard go because you're pumped. Again, veterans, again, coming off of injuries in Hargrave and Allen. And I would say you've seen a few splash moments, but in the end, we've seen our run D suffer mightily. And that's not just up the middle. In the absence of Van Ginkel, a lot of teams, they're running at Dallas Turner, and it is working. So the built to win now, are we? On paper, in August, it felt like that. But I think now, as we enter the bye, I think the combination of health and just looking pragmatically at the roster, we are a veteran-laden roster. I am no longer necessarily convinced that this is a built to win now and it's whatever we can possibly do to hold this thing together. And once we get Cashman back, who I'm excited to get back, once we get Aaron Jones back in the mix and that tandem redevelops and reemerges because Mason now has fumbled in 2 games in a row, can't have that, that everything's just going to run like clockwork again. I'm seeing this roster and I'm seeing what this team has a little bit differently in October than I did in early September. So I think it's difficult to look at it and just say, well, you can't play J.J. McCarthy because we're supposed to win now. Maybe we're supposed to. I'd like us to. But can we? Are we truly built in that fashion? That's one question that I do have.
My feeling on the Viking quarterback situation is you got to roll with Carson Wentz.
Okay.
He is playing winning football. We all saw what J.J. McCarthy was doing on his first 2 outings. Let's say the Vikings do put him back in and he continues to play the way that he played before his injury. Well, then what? Then you pull him, and then what does that do to his confidence?
Yeah. What does that do? It would be bad. It would if he comes in and the offense continues to sputter and is just mired in full-on impotent destitution, well, then we start to learn something about the quarterback. Again, if, getting him fully healthy, getting him practicing, finding that rhythm, the trust that you have in the head coach who chose this guy, this was the plan A. You see 7 quarters of mediocrity with 1 quarter of brilliance at Soldier Field. It has us all wondering. There's no doubt about that. Yes, once he comes back into the game, I agree with you from the sentiment standpoint. He is playing. When he is healthy and he takes that field again, you're doing it under the idea that this is your guy for the remainder of the season. But we need to see what this kid has. So when do you play him? I don't. That's the. So you're either going to wait. So Carson Wentz needs to continue playing, continue being the warrior that he is at this journeyman stage of his career, and then he has to fail miserably. I don't think Carson Wentz is bad enough to fail miserably, but he will make mistakes. He will struggle at times. So I don't see him going MVP on the bit for the remainder of the season. I don't see him floundering. So at this point, we just say, see you next year. And so then now in the first 2 seasons of a kid's career, somebody you invested in via the draft, somebody you believe in, somebody that was your plan A, he's going to get 8 quarters of work. I do believe that that's a problem. So I just, it can't necessarily be predicated on Carson's play overall because I just don't believe Carson's ever going to be bad enough to the point where, all right, guys, it's all over. I guess it is time to bring the kid in. I think you need to remain consistent in the development of this kid, and at some point he has to come in and play. And of course, associated with that is the risk that he's not good. And then and then you, again, act accordingly. Thanks for the talkbacks. We're going to roll back and continue having this conversation. 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line. Talkbacks with the free iHeartRadio app. Hit that microphone. Give us up to your best 30 seconds. First hour rolls on. Ben Gessling in studio at 10 a.m. It's Nordo in for PA with Brett Blakemore, 9 to noon.
Hey, Nordo, a couple topics here quick for you on the McDavid contract. Good on him for doing that. People need to realize it's not a knock against Bill Guerin. People that do what McDavid did are going to be making probably $3 million more per season on their second contract. On the Wentz-McCarthy debate, it's not a debate. It's got to be McCarthy, otherwise it's a wasted season. Wentz is way too inconsistent. We're going nowhere with him. We have to at least see what McCarthy has.
Thanks, Doug, for the talk back. I also got a text message specifically for Blakemore. When Eck is out there against the opponent's top line, do you honestly want Ogren or Urov going against McDavid and McKinnon out of the gate, or a guy who won't get caught out of position in Foligno? Maybe the Eck line will be more considered as much the third line, and the playing time will be more equally split than you think. Why don't you let the coaches coach, Brett?
Well, thanks, K. Fallness, for the text. I appreciate it.
No, that wasn't Fallness.
No?
No, he's a civil servant. He's delivering somebody's mail on the east side of town right now.
Understood. If you want your second line to be a shutdown line, that I guess that's your choice. I would rather have my second line be an ancillary scoring line. I think that's more of a traditional way to go. It's a great shutdown line. I won't deny that. It will be a great shutdown line. If you remember, I'm old enough to remember the Grief line. Was that Foligno, Greenway, and Eck. That was a great shutdown line. They played him against McDavid all the time, and it had a lot of success. I don't think that was their second line at that point in time. So I'm all for a great shutdown line, and I think that there are spots on this team for those types of lines. I just think you're not putting your young prospects in a position to succeed if you're only going to give them 7 minutes of ice time.
I dig it. To the talkback machine, Vikings-centric.
Nordo, Jamie from Holly.
Hey.
Just wanted to say I love Carson Wentz. He's done a great job.
He has.
He is the veteran leader we needed at that time, but give JJ a healthy O-line, give him Addison, get Jones back. Hawks now recovered. Stroke the post. Let's go. See what the kids got. All right? Let's go, Purple Skull.
So I'll admit, when I saw, because I read the transcripts of these talkbacks.
Yes.
And I'm reading it while reading, I'm kind of reading that while I'm reading the text. So it's a bit of a schizophrenic operation here in the big chair this morning. Sorry about that. But when I saw out of the peripheral Hawk in the transcript and then stroke, I thought we had been infiltrated by
it was a leftover
by the Power Trip morning show. So I just want to thank you for staying on, for staying on topic to the talkback machine.
Hey guys, Craig from Blaine.
Hey.
If you bring in the kid and he's terrible, well then you're kind of stuck playing him for the rest of the year, aren't you?
Yeah.
Let's say he loses the first 3 games. What good at that point is it to bring in Wentz? Our season's over, so you might as well stick with the kid. So I hope they keep Wentz in. I don't know why they're in such a rush to bring the kid in and get him going.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Hey, Nordo, Aaron here in Cottage Grove. I think you're spot on with your take on JJ. The kid just hasn't had a big enough sample size of the 2 games. I mean, he sprained his ankle in game 2. Hasn't had a healthy offensive line. I think you give the kid a chance with a couple pieces coming back after the bye, a healthy Addison that we never had against the suspension. I like the kid's chances and let's give it a shot. If it doesn't work after 2 or 3 games, maybe you sit him down for the rest of the year and see what happens. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the talkbacks. A couple of text messages here before we pause. Ben Gessling, Star Tribune, is next. Mark in Duluth, what does he say? Putting the way McCarthy played on him is ridiculous. The O-line was garbage for the first 2 games. When Wentz came in, the line and running game played far better. Darisaw was a huge reason for that. Give the kid some time, and you will see a big difference, in my opinion. Thank you, Mark. Another text message. Don't have a name on it, but appreciate it. They can't put McCarthy back in until they know the line can and will protect him. It has all to do with that and little with JJ. People making these sweeping judgments and predictions about JJ are childish. Jason from Bismarck, of course, I'm a huge Carson Wentz fan. Of course you are. Probably went to high school with him. There's got to be a lot of carryover and connections. Like I played with him in this Pop Warner League or youth football league, saw him in high school, knew this, knew that, between the fan-loving audience and and Carson Wentz. Of course, I'm a huge Carson Wentz fan. I agree we need to see what JJ has, but I just don't think he can read defenses at this point in his career. Tough spot for the coach. Tough for me necessarily to say that he can or cannot read defenses because he was running for his life a fair amount of those 8 quarters that we got to see from him. But I'm glad that so many people are indeed hitting on the offensive line. Roster built now versus, in my opinion, a veteran-laden roster because we have not been drafting effectively. That's kind of where I'm sitting with it. Through 5 games, I have a little different perception of what this roster in totality looks like. Need to see it fully healthy. Still waiting for that. But my perception of that has changed a bit. But the ability to see McCarthy behind what would be, I guess, fully healthy would be at this stage, given now that Ryan Kelly's on IR. It'll be Darisaw, hopefully off the pitch count, ready to play full games with this knee thing. into a healthy Donovan Jackson post the wrist procedure, into, well, Will Fries at right guard, Brian O'Neill, he's week to week, but we need that cat back, certainly. And then at center, man, Blake Brandel, though. I mean, Blake Brandel was terrific on Sunday in London. Michael Juergens has had his ups and downs. Initially, not even planning to play. It was Ryan Kelly's job. So how they put that thing together, I want to see McCarthy behind a healthy Minnesota moving company. And I do believe, it's not like, the soft benching things and some of the ways that this has been reported on or written about or thought about or spoken of on social media. I wonder the combination of getting the kid in a rhythm and then also getting the right pieces in front of him to protect the kid. And then we get to see, does he have it or does he not? That we'll continue this conversation, whether it's the text messages or talkbacks. We're going to continue this for a large part of the 10 a.m. hour as Ben Gessling's going to be in studio, the Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. It's into the bye week. There's a lot of things to talk about from a health perspective, just through 5 games. How do you sum up? Maybe Gessling will have a different perception of this veteran-laden roster than I do, and I'm excited to get his opinions on that and a whole bunch more as we kick off the second hour around the corner. It's Nordo in for PA with Ben Gessling next on The Fan.